Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to our program on Kardec Radio. And now, here's our host, Dr. Vanessa Anceloni.
Welcome, dear listener, to the last program on our Saturday shows at Kardec Radio. Can you believe it? 2013 is ending and a new year is beginning. And we wonder, is this just a tradition, or is it something that we should take as an opportunity for reflection, for renewal? Who doesn't need renewal? Actually, God probably thinks we need to renew ourselves every minute, because at each and every second, life is inviting us for new opportunities. At each and every day, when a new day goes up, it's an opportunity for us to begin anew. And when a new year opens its doors for us, it's an invitation for a new life. Is that real? What should we do in this very end of the year, beginning of a new year? Is it silly to plan a list of resolutions, or is it actually very wise? What should we do? How should we spend New Year's Eve? These and many other questions will probably be addressed here at Kardec Radio today, and we are delighted that we're going to have the company of many friends. Kardec Radio's hosts, Marco Magalhães, Steve Shepard, Kirsten de Mello, Bernadette Leal, Leonardo Vieira, and many others. And you'll be here also with us. If you go to blogtalkradio.com/Kardec Radio, we have our chat room. You can type in your question or comment. Send your message of New Year to the listener, who is actually in more than 60 countries around the world. And if you want to call and talk to us directly, we're here live at 1-858-769-4705, and we'll be happy to listen to you and to know more about what you think about the new year. What are your perspectives in regards to your life, in regards to the lives in the planet progress in general? So we are open our lines here, and you can also send emails. Of course, if you don't want to call in or you can't, type in your message at kardecradio@gmail.com. We'll be super happy to hear from you. You know, when we talk about a new year, you may think that this is something about, just another thing for us to stop at a holiday. Actually, in Spiritism, we understand it otherwise. We would say that spirits such as Emmanuel, through the medium Chico Xavier, in a book that is not yet in English, Vida e Caminho, Life and Way, something, or Life in the Pathway, or something of the nature, when it's translated, he compiled, Emmanuel himself, a message for us, a letter of the new year. Letter of the new year. You want to listen to that? We're going to kickstart the program by listening to that very message, New Year letter, in which Emmanuel talks about the new year, what it means spiritually. Carlos Diaz is also here with us. He is one of the producers, and he's going to be here with us also sharing his comments, his insights about the new year. Let us listen to this message, go to a short break. When we come back, we're going to open the line. Marco Magalhães is here directly from Canada. Steve Shepard is here directly from Pennsylvania. Carlos Diaz and myself. Soon, Kirsten de Mello, Leo Vieira, Bernadette Leal, Daniel Santos, and many others are joining us as well in this beautiful discussion about the healing power of Christ for the new year. We're going to kickstart with Emmanuel's message on New Year's letter.
New Year's Letter by Emmanuel in the book Vida e Caminho, psychographed by Chico Xavier.
The new year is also an opportunity to learn, to work, and to serve. As a fatherly friend, time reincarnates in the body of the calendar, unveiling for us clearer horizons required for our ascension. Remember that the year in return is a new day calling you to fulfill old promises that you have not yet had the courage to actually fulfill.
If you have enemies, make the hour reborn your path of reconciliation. If you were offended, forgive so that love may enlighten your road ahead.
If you rest too much, pick up the plow of your obligations and courageously plant the good for the harvest to come. If sadness visits you, forget it and seek for the serene joy of conscience in the duty well done.
New year, new day. Smile to those who hurt you and look for harmony with those who have not understood you until now.
Remember, there is more ignorance than malice surrounding your destiny. Do not curse or condemn.
Help by sparking some light at those who pass by your side in the restlessness of darkness. Do not either get discouraged or lose faith.
Cultivate the good cheer with those who come your way and are dominated by the coldness of disenchantment or indifference. Do not forget that Jesus never despairs with us. As if hidden by our side, He patiently and kindly repeats to us over and over.
Love and help always. Reach out to the others supporting yourself, because if the day comes back tomorrow, I'll be with you waiting for the sweet joy of the open doors of your heart.
We will return to our program after these messages.
New release, Liberation. In this compelling narrative, Andre Luiz emphasizes the work of high-order spirits in the effort to convert the spirit Gregorio to the good, an effort that culminates with the unforgettable re-encounter with his mother, herself a highly evolved spirit, wherein he surrenders to the irresistible call of love. The book also contains information on how unhappy spirits act as they try to involve incarnates in their wiles. The spirit author tells of the intercession of high-order spirits on behalf of human beings, demonstrating the divine compassion that grants to all the blessed opportunity to free themselves by means of study, labor, and persevering service in the practice of the good. Buy your copy today at www.ediceiofamerica.com.
Spread the word. Kardec Radio, to learn more about Spiritism.
Want Spiritus books for your children? At Edicei of America, you will find a collection of them. From the best-selling book, Our Father, in which the Spirit Mei through Chico Xavier brought countless poems, stories, and folk tales based on the Lord's Prayer, to the beautiful and educational collection by the author Adelson Sales on Back to School and many others. Buy your copy today at www.ediceiofamerica.com.
Nourish your soul with Kardec Radio.
If you missed out on previous shows, no worries. We have an on-demand sections of all previous shows and interviews. Go to our website, www.kardecradio.com.
Nourish your soul with Kardec Radio.
Spiritism for Everyone, the online study of Spiritism. This year with the in-depth study of the book Genesis by Allan Kardec. Join us every Wednesday evening through the web from any computer or mobile device, no matter where you are in the U.S. or the world. Spiritism for Everyone is free, open to all, and requires no registration. For more information, go to www.spiritus.us. Spiritism for Everyone is a program of the United States Spiritist Council.
And now we return to our program.
Dear listener, we are talking about the healing power of the Christ for the new year. Let's talk about the new year first, and we have here with us Marco Magalhães, Steve Shepard, Kirsten DeMello, John DeRosa, and many others. We're going to open the line so Marco Magalhães can talk to us about this beautiful message that Emmanuel has shared with us on the new year. Hi, Marco. How are you? Thank you for being with us at Kardec Radio always.
Hello, Vanessa. It's a pleasure to be here again. And we had such an amazing message by Emmanuel talking to us about the importance of this time. But not only that, kind of reminding us that every day is a new year. Like, a new year is just part of a cycle that we go through for such a long time. We've been through this many, many times before, trying to be better. And that's exactly what he's trying to tell us. There's a new year coming. So why don't we start living what Christ told us, which is not that hard to do, if you think about it. Like, don't build up these promises that you're probably not going to be able to do, but you start with the simple things. Just basically, let me try to be a better person.
Mm-hmm. And as you say, when we talk about that, it takes goodwill, at least, right?
Exactly, yeah.
It takes goodwill for people to actually make the effort to align themselves with the Christ.
Exactly, and I think it's the message is it's pure and it's very simple. What about changing my thoughts? What about actually paying attention to what I'm thinking? What about not doing things that are going to harm others? So let's do to others what I would like people to do unto me. It's like those are the things that we've listened, we've read about, and many, many times before, but we still have a lot of difficulties putting that into practice. And I think when this time of year comes, I think it's an excellent moment for us to think back and maybe start doing it with a goodwill, with a lot of power and energy.
But what do you think, Marco, about people who claim that Jesus bar is too high for us to actually achieve that type of attitude before life?
That's an excellent question, Vanessa, and we encounter that like every day in a daily basis everywhere we go. And what I would definitely say to people is that actually things are much easier than you think. Start with the very simple things. For example, in your daily activities, say hi to someone. Give someone a smile. A smile is a medication for the soul. Why don't we just give thanks for things that people do for us? Because we aim to be like what we used to call saints before, which basically like this mythological figure of someone that's absolutely perfect. And that's very unfortunate because every time we try to do that, we're going to encounter failure because we're learning. And we learn, just like when kids go to kindergarten, they will start learning very, very simple things, but are going to build up their future. So that's the same thing for us. We're like in the kindergarten of our spiritual life. So
that's
we need
nice.
to start by doing the most easy things, but the ones that are going to build our life as perfect beings in the future.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Kindergarten, and in the kindergarten, we need a new year.
Exactly.
We need a new. That's wonderful, Marco. We also have here Marco Steve Shepard, who actually you teamed up a year ago at a beautiful event in Pennsylvania. You're both, not only Marco was giving a lecture about the Spiritist view on cancer and the medical view on cancer, but he was teaming up with Steve Shepard on several Spiritist songs. They were playing and singing together. You remember that, right, Marco?
Oh, I'll never forget that. And I actually, we need to do that again.
That's
it was a
for
great
sure.
experience.
Welcome, Steve, to Kardec Radio. How are you?
I'm great. It's great to hear you. Great to hear Marcos.
Yeah.
And, it's been a long time. It was a great experience.
Are you ready to sing a song today with Marco over the radio?
That'd be a little hard to coordinate without singing.
Of course. So, Steve, what is this new year for you? What would you tell that the message of Emmanuel can actually help us with the perspectives for the new year?
It was a great message, and as Marcos was saying, and you were discussing in the message, it said, "Be a light, help guide people, and don't worry about perfection. Just get out there and start with whatever you can." I use that as a guide, and it's sad when you see somebody who's depressed or not looking at things in a good light. I just try to show them, there's a positive spin on every situation. This year is a new year. I started a new job in October, so it's promising, great start for a new year.
Beautiful. Really, that's wonderful. And, Steve, as you're saying, don't worry about perfection. That's great, because Marco was just telling us, like, spiritually speaking, we are living like the kindergarten of our experiences. And when you talk about don't worry, that's not worry about being perfect. It's exactly coordinated with what Marco said, in the sense of we don't need to achieve all of a sudden a great mastery of our emotions and thoughts and everything else. We just need to work step by step, right?
Exactly. Any small step forward in the right direction is a good thing. No matter how small or how minor, just point in the right direction.
Exactly. And as we're here talking to Marco and Steve, Kirsten DeMello is also here with us. Kirsten, welcome back to Kardec Radio. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you, Vanessa. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much.
It's good to hear. Kirsten, you heard the message by Emmanuel, New Year's letter. He talks about the new year being an opportunity to learn, to work, and to serve. And he uses a beautiful expression. It's as if time reincarnates in the body of the calendar, opening new horizons for us. What would you say about this message and much more on the perspectives for the new year?
Vanessa, we believe it's also about opening up these new horizons, is also about envisioning what we want for ourselves and as a humanity, because sometimes we get so caught up in our old thought patterns and our old ways that we forget that we really have the power to recreate ourselves in a better sense, connecting with our divine creator, connecting with our divine essence. It's really envisioning and creating a vision for this new year. And it's something beautiful, and it's very encouraging, I think, for everyone for this new year.
It is, right. And it's interesting he uses the very term, the Spiritist, the concept of reincarnation, to really tell us about the importance of beginning anew. And he is quite assertive when he says, fix things you still need to amend. If anything you needed to reevaluate, begin again, go back, don't leave it aside. So it's about like the courage as well. So Jesus' message goes hand in hand with Emmanuel's message here, telling us, be courageous, face it, go back, begin anew. Isn't that right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's a beautiful reminder, because sometimes we even forget to just have the courage to endure, to face things head on. And I think that's part of what the message is about. It's a reminder for us. I think we always need to meditate and reflect and review. It's really an important part of our evolution.
Exactly. You're talking about evolution, and you talked about, Kirsten, envisioning about ourselves and recreating our lives. So you're talking about a moment of reflection. And when we talk about a moment of reflection, Kirsten, I came across a message from the website mindbodygreen.com in which they kindly suggest 5 ways to have a spiritual New Year's Eve. Because when you're talking about beginning anew, recreating ourselves, there must be a moment in which we need to stop, reflect, and move forward. And in this message, they say, take advantage of New Year's Eve for you to gather together with family and friends, share inspirational quotes, a book excerpt, or a poem, and or meditate, sing and chant together, and begin and start on that very day one of your goals for the new year. What do you think about those suggestions?
I think it's totally in line with what Spiritism says, because in the book Action and Reaction, and forgive me, I cannot recall the chapter at this time, but Sister Phyllis and Brother Jerusa, Mentor Jerusa, tells us that it's an imperative part of our evolution, that we take the time, whether it's daily, yearly, or moment to moment, to reflect and renew our ideas as a part of our process to move forward, as a healthy process for us. So the fact that that's manifested and it's out there in the world just proves to us that what Kardec said about the universal truths, it's a manifestation, and it's a proof of that these ideas are worldwide, and this idea of renewal is needed. Meditation daily. I know that Kardec Radio has had many speakers on to speak on such subjects, and it's beautiful, and I think it's perfect for this time of year. Thank you so much for reminding ourselves of that too, Vanessa.
That's right. And Kirsten, Steve, and Marco, we have here with us John DeRosa. John DeRosa is here. Thank you, John, for being with us at Kardec Radio today.
You're quite welcome.
And you and Steve have been pairing up, doing this beautiful segment on the Spirit's book by Allan Kardec every Sunday. And what would you tell us, John, about these new perspectives for the new year and how, the message of the Christ can help us begin anew?
Well, I'm on the road right now, Vanessa. So
Great.
I was calling in to listen more than talk.
All right. Okay, but that's good to hear you.
I will call back when I get to. I'll be there in about 15 minutes, and I'll call back again. Okay.
Sure. Be safe, John. We wait for you. Okay.
All right. Bye-bye.
Great. So, dear listener, we're talking about this message that the Spirit Emmanuel wrote through Chico Xavier, the Brazilian renowned medium, Chico Xavier, in which he talks about the new year as an opportunity to learn, to work, and to serve. And he encourages us to go back and revisit the parts of our lives that are still in need of adjustment. So he says, if you have enemies, make the hour reborn your path of reconciliation. If you were offended, forgive so that you may enlighten your road, so that forgiveness can enlighten your road ahead. If you rested too much in 2013, pick up the plow of your obligations and courageously plant the good for the harvest to come. If sadness visits you, forget it and seek for the serene joy of conscience in duty well done. Dear listener, there are parts of this message that go hand in hand with a chapter that actually was put together by Brother X in the book Boa Nova. It's coming along in English, but not yet. And it's going to be entitled Good News. And in that book, Brother X, or Humberto de Campos, he transcribes for us passages of Jesus telling us about how to lead our lives. Well, and one of the things he says is about the importance of being joyful, no matter what. He says joy, hope, and courage. The three things that build the trademark for the Christ-conscious mind. We're going to listen to this very chapter. After that, we're going to open the line again. So Marco, Steve, Kirsten, John, Daniel Santos, Carlos Smith, and many others can join us into a discussion about this very empowering message. Let us listen to it and deepen ourselves into the healing power of the Christ for the new year.
Take Heart by Humberto de Campos, Spirit, through the psychography of Chico Xavier, the meeting.
The Apostle Bartholomew was one of the most dedicated disciples of Christ since the early times of his preaching along the Tiberíades. All his efforts were employed to follow the Master in his divine work. However, Bartholomew was sad, and innumerable times Christ would find him in deep and painful meditation. This is probably the reason why, during one night, while Simon Peter and his family were involved in their domestic chores, Jesus took the opportunity of a few instants to speak lengthily to Bartholomew's heart. After Jesus' affectionate and fraternal question, Bartholomew allowed his sensitive spirit to express itself. He shyly exclaimed, "Master, I will never be able to explain to you the reasons for my bitter sadness. All I can say is that your gospel fills me up with hope for a kingdom of light that awaits our hearts beyond on high. When you clarify that your kingdom is not of this world, I experience new courage to cross the miseries of the path on earth, because here the seal of evil seems to obscure the purest things. Everywhere you see the victory of crime, the game of ambition, and the harvest of disillusion." The voice of the apostle became stuffy by the tears. Nevertheless, Jesus stared at him calmly and spoke with serenity.
Our philosophy, however, is of the gospel or of the good news. Have you ever seen, Bartholomew, good news not produce joy? You are doing well by keeping your hope in face of these new teachings. I want to inspire my disciple spirits to take heart. If I have had the occasion to teach that my kingdom is not of this world, this does not mean that I do not intend on extending that to the hearts of those living on the earth. Do you think that I would come to this world without this comforting certainty? The gospel will have to flourish first of all in the soul of the created beings, before it can give fruits in the spirit of the crowds. Moreover, I come from my Father, full of strength and trust, and my message will produce great jubilation for those that will receive it with their hearts.
After a pause, while the disciples silently contemplated him, the Master continued.
Terrestrial life is a rocky road that leads us to the long arms of God. Work is the march. Common struggles is everyday walk. The delicious morning instants and the nocturnal hours of serenity are the resting points. But listen well to me. During activity of physical rest, the opportunity of an hour, of a light action, of a humble word is the invitation of our Father for us to sow His sacred blessings. In general, human beings abuse this precious gift by placing their imperfect needs before God's purpose, disturbing their own march. From that result, the roughest obligatory journey in order to rectify the faults committed and many times fruitless labors. Due to these reasons, we observe that the earth travelers are always low-spirited. In the obsessive need to fulfill their own will, they injure themselves on the rocky roads. They close their ears to spiritual reality. They close their eyes with the shadow of rebelliousness and drop tears in desperate shouts and bitter moans without seeing the true crystal fountain, the charitable sky star, the flower's perfume, the words of a friend, and the clarity of the experiences that God has spread for their journey in all the aspects of their path.
There was a small interval in the affectionate considerations. After that, without reaching a complete perception of Jesus' words, Bartholomew questioned, "Master, your clarifications dissipate my sorrow, but does the gospel demand from us permanent strength?"
Truth does not demand, it transforms. The gospel could not demand special state of mind from its disciples. However, it is necessary to consider that joy, courage, and hope should be constant traits of the disciples' everyday activity. Why focus for a moment on a nightmare if we know the reality of the eternal glory with our Father?
The fisherman asked with a restless look. And when the business of the world opposes us, and when everything seems to be going against us? Jesus, however, having completely perceived the reason of this question, clarified with kindness.
Which one is the best business of the world, Bartholomew? Would it be the adventure made by weight of gold? Many times gagging the heart and the conscience in order to increase the worries of the material life, or the definite enlightenment of the soul toward God, which is solely fulfilled by the individual's goodwill that wishes to march towards God's love in between the shrubs along the way? Wouldn't the misfortune in the world of business be a friendly invitation for the created being to sow with love? An indirect request that can remove the illusions of the earth to the truth of the kingdom of God?
Bartholomew kept the answer in his heart, though experiencing some strangeness, and soon after, remembering that his mother had departed to the shadows of the grave not too long ago, he still anxiously asked, "Master, would it be justifiable our sadness when we lose a loved one?"
But who is lost if God is the Father of all of us? If those buried in the mud of crime will glimpse one day the dawn of redemption, why lament in desperation the friend that has departed by the call of the All-Powerful? The death of the body opens doors to a new world for the soul. Nobody will truthfully be an orphan on earth as much as nobody will be ever abandoned, because everything is from God and we all are His children. That is why each disciple of the gospel has to be a sower of peace and joy.
Jesus became silent, like he had completed his judicial and serene exposition. Due to the advanced hour, Bartholomew said goodbye. That night, the look of the Master offered him a brighter and sweeter light. His hand softly touched Bartholomew's shoulders, leaving a healthy and unknown sensation. Even though Bartholomew was born in Cana of Galilee, he was then residing in Dalmanutha, to which he headed, gravely meditating on the lessons that he had received. The night seemed prettier than ever. Up high, the stars looked like the glorifying lights from God's palace awaiting its created beings with beams of joy. In his eyes, the waters of Gennesaret were more placid and happier. The mild winds were whispering caressing inspirations like a delicate postal mail that reached him from the sky. Bartholomew started to recall the reasons for his inexplicable sadness, but with surprise no longer found them in his heart. He remembered of having lost his affectionate mother. However, he thought it over with more amplitude in regards to the purpose of the divine providence. Was not God his father and mother in heaven? He recalled his life's tribulations and pondered that his blood brothers bothered and slandered him. However, was not Jesus a generous and sincere brother? He revisited his material failures. However, what was his fishing or the cupidity of the businessman from Bethesda and Capernaum compared to the light of the kingdom of God, which he labored to build in his heart? He reached his home at daybreak. Far out, the first rays of the sun seemed like messengers of celestial comfort. The singing of the birds echoed in his soul with harmonious notes of deep joy. The lowing of oxen had a different tone in his ears. His soul was now clear. His heart was relieved and happy. When the hinges creaked the door, his brothers gave way to scurrility, accusing him of being a bad son, a vagabond, and a traitor of the law. However, Bartholomew recalled the gospel and felt that only he had enough joy to give to his brothers. Instead of reacting harshly like the other times, he smiled with kindness of the friendly explanations. Bartholomew's father equally accused and banished him. However, the apostle found it natural. His father did not know Jesus like he did. Since he was not able to explain himself, he kept the assets of silence and found himself in possession of a new happiness. After resting for a few moments, Bartholomew took his old fishnet and demanded his boat. He had a word of friendly consolation to all his work companions. The lake felt more accommodating and prettier. His work companions were kinder and more forthcoming. In the afternoon, he did not question the salesmen. However, he fulfilled their spirits with benevolent words and with a captivating and educational attitude. Bartholomew had converted his misfortunes in a song of joy into a regenerative breath of the teachings of Christ. Everyone looked at him with surprise, except Jesus, who jubilantly knew the new mental attitude of his disciple. The next Saturday, the Master claimed by the lake shore, which was surrounded by a number of followers. The crowd agglomerated men and women of the people, Jewish and Antipas officials, and a great number of Roman soldiers. Jesus started to preach the good news. At a certain point, he told, according to Matthew, that
the kingdom of heaven is similar to an undiscovered treasure hidden in a field. It was then found and hidden by a man that, moved by pleasure, sold everything he had and bought that field.
In that instant, the Master's eyes gazed over to Bartholomew, that contemplated him captivatingly. The soft light of his generous eyes deeply penetrated the apostle's inner soul due to the kindness that he noticed. The humble fisherman understood the delicate allusion of the teaching, experiencing a light and satisfied spirit after having rid of all the vanity that he had not yet freed himself, so that he could acquire the divine treasure in the endless field of life. Extending to Jesus a look of love and recognition, Bartholomew wiped a tear. It was the first time that he cried of joy. The fisherman of Dalmanutha forever adheres to the eternal jubilee of the gospel of the kingdom.
From the book Boa Nova by Humberto de Campos through Chico Xavier, published by the Brazilian Spiritist Federation. Its version in English is not available yet.
And dear listener, we are here crying of joy because this is really a message that changes our lives. If you want to read this message in English, you can go to the Spiritist Magazine, issue 19, and read free of charge the very message we talked about. It's certainly a message of deep healing. So we'd like to open now the line for our dear hosts at Kardec Radio who are here with us, Marco Magalhães, Steve Shepard, Kirsten de Mello, and Bernadette Leal. Hi, Bernadette. How are you?
Hi, Vanessa. How are you?
Almost Happy New Year.
To you and all listeners.
It's
what
great.
A pleasure and what a blessing to be here. I'm so happy, a new year is coming. And what I would like to say and share with our wonderful friends is when you start this new year, start anew.
Yeah.
All the worries, all the grudges, and all the things, just let go and let God. We kids and teenagers, sometimes I ask them, write everything you don't want, and you want to let go. And then we tear all the paper, we burn the paper, or we have a vision that we are putting all those worries in God's hand and let go. Let's start this new year with love, open for new happenings, new situations, new things that are about to happen in our lives. And just be open and be grateful. And that's how I feel right now, being so grateful for being part of this team, supporting, and as I help, I'm being helped tremendously. The mentors and the spirits are being so good to me. I'm so blessed, holding my hand when things happen and go, Bernadette, you can do it, girl. With a lot of prayer, and thank you for this opportunity to help and serve. Bless your heart, bless, the Kardec Radio team and everybody that's out there. Thank you.
Thank you, Bernadette. And talking about, we just read a letter that Emmanuel wrote, about the new year. And on your last programs at Kardec Radio, you actually talked about a letter that your daughter wrote, right? Can you tell us a little bit? So if people want to listen, they can go back to Spiritist Awareness segment and listen to it. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Yes. Well, my daughter, as a teenager, she went through a lot of challenges. And after a lot of falls, and she had to take classes, she had to grow a little bit spiritually, therapy and all that. I said, okay, now you are in another level. If you could write and tell parents about how they, what kind of advice, how do you feel about parents and the world, what would you write to them? And I didn't say anything. I go, just write with your heart. And she wrote really a beautiful letter telling parents, first she said about the situation of teenagers out nowadays with depression, with drugs and all this stuff, and how much it's important to have the parents' support because they cannot do all that and overcome their challenges if they don't feel loved. And how important as a parent, as an educator, to be near them, by their side, holding their hand, how much they need to feel loved, how much they need to say, hey, you can do it, I'm proud of you, we are not going to give up on you, because they feel lost. They feel they know about everything, but then after the pain, it's when it hits the pain that they are just like babies. Sometimes my daughter is almost 17, and she looks at me, and I see a 5-year-old, and she lay on my like a little baby on my lap, and it's just like, just hold me tight, don't say anything. So parents out there, love your children, love your teenagers. Read the letter. It came from her, and it spoke to my heart, and I felt I could share it, and you feel inspired too.
Yeah.
So that's a little bit of it.
No, it's wonderful you're saying this, and the reason why I'm asking about this is because as we're talking about perspectives for the new year and beginning anew, we should start all over in our own homes. So in talking about this, we're talking about the healing power of the Christ of giving us second chances always, right?
Yeah. And you say the power of Christ, and Christ, we all have the Christ within. We all have the power. So we just have to go there and do it. When those negative thoughts and things happen, just connect with your Christ within, and you feel so much powerful to take action.
Yeah.
Some people say, "Oh, you are a spiritist, so everything is easy." You go, "Oh no."
Oh no.
we have the same thing. The difference that we have a more understanding, we have more compassion, and we don't give up. And when we are feeling lonely, we just pray. We call our friends. We know that we are not truly alone. Our spiritual guide is right there. We just have to make that call. I go, okay, here you go. I'm going to help you. And the help comes always. It never fails.
That's right. That's right, Bernadette. Please stay there as we are now spreading these comments. And Marco, in this message that Bernadette is sharing with us, it matches so much the one we just heard by Brother X entitled Take Heart, a passage between Bartholomew and Jesus, when Jesus talks about the importance of keeping up our joy, our hope, and our courage. And we see the healing power of Christ in the heart of Bartholomew. What do you think about this beautiful message that Brother X shared with us?
Vanessa, there's one line in this message that really it's really like changing. It touches everyone. It's very simple. The truth does not demand; it transforms. So, what Jesus is really trying to tell all of us here, including Bartholomew at that point, is that aren't all these difficulties around you a call for you to change? Aren't all these things that you're complaining about just a point forward for you to understand how to be a better person? It's asking us to transform ourselves. It's not asking us to keep demanding from everyone around, from God, from us, that things are perfect. And I think that's one of the most important messages, even for consider this time that we're talking about the healing power for the new year, is that let us now look at things in a point of view of the transformation that the truth brings to us, and not keep demanding that everything around us is just like this breeze full of nice things and everything's around us perfect, because that's not real, right? And I think that's exactly what Jesus is trying to tell Bartholomew, is that, move on, transform ourselves, and start now.
Exactly. So he's telling us, move on, as you said, move on. Don't be stuck on what happened. Look forward, look ahead, and keep on working on yourself, right?
Exactly. And he even asks Bartholomew, what is the best deal in the world? Like, why are you complaining about these things? Aren't all these complications you're having with salesmen and things happening around you isn't just asking you to actually change and, live a better life? Don't get stuck on these things, because what's more important? Are those sales the more important thing, or eternal illumination? Which one is more important?
And this, Marco, reminds us of a passage that Chico Xavier lived in his life when he was troubled, because people think, oh, Chico Xavier, as Bernadette said, oh, life is easy for you spiritists. No, it's as human as everyone else's life. And he was troubled. He was having a hard time when the Spirit Emmanuel came with a message. I'm just cutting short the message here, and told him, look, Mother Mary advises you, everything shall pass. And it passes. A moment that is hard today, tomorrow is not going to happen any longer. But it's just a matter of us really beginning anew. And Marco, please stay there. As we comment about the healing and power of the Christ, it reminds me of a beautiful chapter named The Miracles and the Healings in the book Genesis by Kardec, in which he talks about the healing power of the Christ. Therein, he recaps some of the healing passages of the Bible, of the New Testament with Jesus, and on the woman that was losing blood, and he talks about the very moment in which Jesus said that there was, that the description was that there was a power that had gone out of Jesus. And Kardec says both the woman and Jesus felt the action that had just been produced. It's noteworthy that the effect was not caused by any act of Jesus' own will. Neither magnetization nor laying on of hands had occurred. A normal fluidic radiation was enough to work the healing. And the question Kardec asks is, but why was that radiation directly toward this woman rather than toward the others, since Jesus was not thinking about her and since he was surrounded by the crowd? Kardec says, the reason is quite simple. Given as therapeutic matter, the fluid must reach the organic disorder in order to repair it. It can be directed toward the illness by the healer's will, or it can be attracted by the ardent desire, the trust, in other words, the faith of the ill person. With respect to the fluidic current, the former acts like a force pump. And when Jesus said, your faith has saved you, that's exactly how it explains. And why we're reading this passage from the book Genesis by Kardec? Because as we're talking about the healing power of the Christ, dear listener, we're talking about a healing that happens within. And it depends on ourselves, our faith. So Steve Shepard is here also with us. Steve, as we're talking about this healing power of the Christ and how it transformed the mood of Bartholomew, how do you think this message can also serve as an inspiration for people in the new year?
Yes, it's important to take in the Christ message, look at your situation, and know that things will get better. There are many trials and problems people go through. I still think of Selenia, and just knowing that she's in a better place helps ease missing her. And just the whole message that Christ is with you, and it will help guide you through all of the problems that you have here on this earth. Many friends have problems, and that message seems to help them feel a little better.
Exactly. And as you said about our dear Selenia, and Jesus said to Bartholomew about his mother, who also discarnated, saying, who is lost in our Father's kingdom? So we know she is living, and she is for sure looking over with us, watching especially you, Steve, the love of her soul. So there is a message of hope. Now, Kirsten, as we talk about this beautiful message of take heart, it's a message of joy. How can we be joyful when times are, going against a single opportunity of even smiling at those who hurt us, for example?
That's a very good question, and I think a lot of people, we've either faced that or we will face that in our lives. I think it's actually quite simple. I think it's in having this vision, as from the message earlier today, envisioning ourselves in a better place, envisioning something better for ourselves, not in a materialistic standpoint, but from a spiritual standpoint, seeing ourselves already overcoming that. And one of the major ways we can help facilitate that vision is through prayer, through hope, because it is an act of the will. It can't be that we remain stagnant. That's part of why pain comes into our lives, is to remind us is that it is an action from within, that we must put forth an effort to remind ourselves to have this hope, to envision something better, to look at the bigger picture. That's part of why pain comes into our lives, is to push us to have this greater perspective of life, because otherwise we might not otherwise have that perspective.
Exactly, Kirsten. You're talking about perspective, and perspective depends on perception as well. So one of the things we would share with the listener is, according to science, the more we read and study, and especially with others, when we have study sessions, we refine our reasoning, we shape up our perception, and we're not stuck into an illusion. So, dear listener, it's the law of society. We have one another. That's why we have Kardec Radio here, and we have this forum of the new year with Marco Magalhães, Bernadette Leal, Steve Shepard, Kirsten DeMello, Daniel Santos, John De Rosa, Carlos Diaz, myself, and all of you. It's an important moment for us to listen to one another and get more insights about sometimes things we never thought about. As Daniel Santos just said here, when Steve was also sharing with us the hope in the future, he was saying, may God bless you, Steve. For sure, bless all of us as well, Daniel. And thank you for your work at Spiritist Awareness and at your work on Spiritist Talks every Thursday. Now, dear listener, as we are talking about preparing for the new year, in this message we read also at the website mindbodygreen.com, being practical here, what can we do to transition to the new year in a very conscious way? Because some people, I'll never forget, dear listener, when at the SSB, we used to do the New Year's Eve there. For some years, we've run some New Year's Eve at the center. And I'll never forget a friend who came along and said, this is the first New Year's Eve in my life, that I don't drink alcohol. And it was quite surprising for us, because many people actually spend their New Year, drugging themselves. And instead of being awake in the new year, they actually put themselves to sleep into the new year. We're talking about reflections. We're talking about meditation. And if you need to spend your new year by yourself, as this message of mindbodygreen.com says, enjoy your own company, because you're not alone. You're not alone. There are good spirits with you as well. Right, Marcos? We're never alone. And if we have to spend a new year by ourselves, we always have the company of the good spirits with us as well, correct?
Exactly, Vanessa. We're never alone. And I think if we go back to the message from Bartholomew, he actually says that very clearly when he's thinking about what Jesus told him. He's like, why am I so concerned? If actually Jesus is actually is my big brother, and he's so generous, and he's always with me. And I think that's so important for us to remember, that we are never alone. And of course, every time New Year comes, we think about celebrations and all the typical things. But why not celebrate as as meditating, as just living that moment, as sharing love with someone? Like, that's all part of celebration. So again, going away from that idea that we need to, exactly like you said, drug ourselves or do other things to celebrate. Now, celebration is about love, because love is this principle that really glue us together, exactly like you said before. And why not going through the New Year's Eve just by celebrating love?
Oh, that's beautiful, Marco. Celebrating love. And when we talk about celebrating love, it reminds me of a passage in the New Year's letter by Emmanuel when he says Jesus' words, love and help always. Reach out to others, supporting yourself. And when he talks about it, he talks about giving back. New Year's Eve is an opportunity also to give to others. The listener, if you have internet, Google. If you're listening to Kardec Radio, you certainly have internet. And forgive me for saying that again, but I know you do have internet. But there are, on Google search, opportunities to volunteer on New Year's Eve. If you have the opportunity, go for it. It's a great way to help cook, serve food, ride-share organizations, and many other things that are happening around the world. And you can spend the transition to the new year just going that route. Marcos D. Clay from Canada is here with us. He's telling us that his family in Brazil, and he's in Toronto. They plan to spend the New Year's Eve having the gospel at home, meditating and praying. Marcos, thank you also for sharing this with us. Marcos de Clay, Marco Magalhães, they are from the Toronto Spiritist Society in Toronto. If you want to know more about Spiritist centers around the world, just go to the website of the International Spiritist Council, intersay.com, and get to know more about it. So thank you also, Marcos de Clay, for sharing it. Right now, we're going to listen to a 2-minute message that exemplifies how we can exercise this reach out movement and how we'll find the healing power of the Christ right there. It's the message Divine Surprise, which is in the book and CD, Enlightening Messages, by the Spiritist Society of Baltimore. If you want to go there, www.ssbaltimore.org. Listen to this, and we'll be back with the hosts, Marco Magalhães, Bernadette Leal, Steve Shepard, Kirsten DeMello, and many more.
Divine Surprise. Good and fraternal soul, if the impulse to pray blesses you, whenever you wish to pray to seek the Lord's security, do it anywhere. The entire earth is an open temple for the inspiration that pours from heaven. But to find the Master that you seek, dear soul, come down to life's valley of tears, where comfort is late to arrive, where the pain of indignance and the tears of widowhood roam along the path's edges, extending a strong arm to the ones who wander without direction and who are lost in the nostalgia of the home life that has disappeared. Listen to the ones who go during the cold and windy night without being able to tell about their own suffering. They hunger for care and understanding. Stop and hug the child that is consumed by disdain and wiped out by disease. Stop and assist in clothing, healing, and feeding this small flower. Hear the cry of the sick person who has nothing but dust and tears as a bed, in a narrow corner in the land of no one. Be aware of the cries of those in the height of anguish, the sad hearts torn apart by slander. Go where there is affliction, offering to each sufferer a gift of love, and there you will see a divine light sweetly irradiating peace, goodness, and joy. From this light, the deepest part of your trusting soul will hear Jesus tenderly say, "Dear soul, come. I hear your voice in prayer everywhere. I must, however, await you in the fields of goodness. You said I was right in knowing that God loves and understands through you. You look so far away for me, and all along I await you close by. good soul, I am here.
Dear listener, how often we're looking for relief, just like Bartholomew. How often we look for transformation, and we forget that it begins right where we are, reaching out to others who are suffering. So, Kirsten, in this message, Divine Surprise, it talks about love and help always, reaching out to others. As Jesus says, He is there waiting for us in the fields of goodness. So the only way to actual transformation is reaching out to others. Is that what the message says? What would be the healing power of the Christ if not doing good to others, right, Kirsten?
Probably only now with the advent of, of science, and I know you've spoken about Dr. Post before his research, probably only in recent decades do we really realize that it really is good to be good physically, emotionally, spiritually, on so many other different levels. So right now it's just, we could say it's sort of a new science that has popped up, and probably soon in the future it will become part of our culture, a culture of kindness, a culture of love, where we're constantly thinking about others and constantly looking to see who needs help and not waiting for someone to ask for help. It's something that in the Spirits book they talk about, that we should, the sort of responsibility we have not to wait for people to ask us for help, but to look here and there for people who may need help but are too afraid or too scared or don't know to ask for help. So it seems as though it's a simple idea, but it's quite profound. And if Jesus brought this idea to us of loving our neighbor, it's something probably we would say we are just now beginning to understand the depths. It's sort of like the iceberg, right? We've only begun to observe the tip of it, and there's probably so much more to it that's ingrained with how we are created that we're going to really discover the healing power of it.
Yeah, you're so right. It's just the beginning of our discovery. You're so right, Kirsten. It reminds us of a discussion we had in a previous program at Kardec Radio about the book Self-Discovery as well. We're just learning about ourselves and about the power within as well, correct?
Absolutely. We're just, as you just stated, not to be redundant, but we are just discovering who we are, our potential, the power of our mind, the power of controlling our emotion and our reason. And that's part of it as well, discovering to have that balance of reason and emotion. And somehow charity also touches on that, because it seems logical to help our neighbor, and yet emotionally we become renewed, rejuvenated, and it's an ideal to be had every year, every day, really. But it's always good to take these moments, since we are coming upon the new year, to really reflect about that. And I think you mentioned earlier in the show to really begin that in our own home. Even if in our own home we live by ourselves, we're single, or we're a widow or widower, or whatever the case may be, or children have grown up or whatever, but love to ourselves, charity to ourselves, perhaps to our elderly neighbor, whomever, it really can begin in the home, something very simple. But if we're able to achieve it with ourselves in our small circle, we definitely can achieve it on a greater scale, and that gives us hope. Even psychologically, if we see that we're able to conquer within our own home, it gives us much more faith and belief that we can do it outside of our home.
Yes, you said it right. As the message we just listened to said, be aware of the cries of the world. We can't simply keep ourselves in the comfort of our homes and say, oh, my family is doing well, so the world is doing well. No. It's also an opportunity for us, dear listener, to think about others who are in need. Because if God is granting us an opportunity to have a comfortable life, materially speaking, emotionally speaking, family-wise, He's giving us resources to reach out to others who certainly don't have it. So as we're talking about this, Steve Shepard just wrote at the Blog Talk Radio chat room, but we want to ask you, Steve, would you like to share the thoughts you're just talking about, the way we are celebrating New Year's Eve? Can you tell it to the listener your thoughts in that regard, please?
Sure. Excuse me. Sure. It's something of a conflict in that reflection and meditation for the New Year's Eve. That's something that's important to be part of what New Year's bringing in the New Year's is all about. I'm just reflecting on the life I've had here. It's always been Christmas Eve is the day that everyone goes to church and focuses on religion and Christ and his coming birth and so forth. And New Year's Eve has always been a party that involves food, drink, and being together with people and having a party. But, as you said, that can get too far, and you can be just not very cognizant of what you're doing eventually, and that's not good either. So I guess I'm a little conflicted as, you want to have a fun and enjoy with your friends, and at the same time you want to watch out and not go too far. Alcohol is a general thing, too. I mean, when people turn 21 here, that's the first thing they do is they go out and have their first legal drink.
Certainly something we need to change, and that's not to be hypocrite or not to be like, a Puritan, but it's about healthy life. And as you're talking about this, Steve, we're talking about leading a healthy New Year's Eve, and certainly we would say to people, drinking alcohol is not healthy at all, no excuse whatsoever. Even if people tell us, oh, but just a glass of wine is good for the heart, but it destroys your liver, it destroys everything else in your body, so we would say it's not the healthy way to begin a new year. And there are many ways for us to be joyful. And I would actually bring to the listener that the molecules that you need to bring forth this joy are in your brain. They are not in a glass of wine or champagne. They are in your brain. And did you know that the power of the mind, dear listener, is dependent on thoughts? If you think about something, you will produce the molecules in your brain that will produce the cascade of reaction of the feelings you want to feel. It's about the power of your mind. In your brain, you have the very molecules you need to boost your joy. You don't need to get it somewhere else, not even in a drug or in a medication, unless you really need a medication by your doctor, but you don't actually need elsewhere. And when we have contact with people, especially friends, people whom we have great empathy and good interaction, it boosts molecules in our brains that makes us feel all the more happy. There is no need to actually get it somewhere else. Well, dear friends here at Kardec Radio, dear hosts, Marco, Bernadette, Steve, Kirsten, Daniel, friends, Marcos D. Clay, Carlos Smith, and many others who are listening to us and participating. We're getting to the very end of the program today, talking about the healing power of the Christ for the new year. Yes, you have asked. We're going to play again the message New Year's letter. But before that, before we get there, we're going to give a short break. When we come back, our hosts will discuss a little bit reasons to be grateful for the year that is just ending and for the opportunity of the new year. And we're going to listen to the Poem of Gratitude by Amélia Rodrigues through Divaldo Franco, a beautiful, unprecedented version that was just released by our dear friend Greg Stewart. Listen to this message, New Year's letter, again by Emmanuel. After the break, reasons to be grateful for the year that is just ending and the year to come.
New Year's Letter by Emmanuel in the book Vida e Caminho, psychographed by Chico Xavier.
The new year is also an opportunity to learn, to work, and to serve. As a fatherly friend, time reincarnates in the body of the calendar, unveiling for us clearer horizons required for our ascension. Remember that the year in return is a new day calling you to fulfill old promises that you have not yet had the courage to actually fulfill.
If you have enemies, make the hour reborn your path of reconciliation. If you were offended, forgive so that love may enlighten your road ahead.
If you rest too much, pick up the plow of your obligations and courageously plant the good for the harvest to come. If sadness visits you, forget it and seek for the serene joy of conscience in the duty well done.
New year, new day. Smile to those who hurt you and look for harmony with those who have not understood you until now.
Remember, there is more ignorance than malice surrounding your destiny. Do not curse or condemn.
Help by sparking some light at those who pass by your side in the restlessness of darkness. Do not either get discouraged or lose faith.
Cultivate the good cheer with those who come your way and are dominated by the coldness of disenchantment or indifference. Do not forget that Jesus never despairs with us. As if hidden by our side, He patiently and kindly repeats to us over and over.
Love and help always. Reach out to the others supporting yourself, because if the day comes back tomorrow, I'll be with you waiting for the sweet joy of the open doors of your heart.
We will return to our program after these messages.
Books of Andre Luis. Through the hands of the most prolific medium of all times, Chico Xavier, the spirit doctor Andre Luis wrote a series of books that unveil the mechanisms of life and life after life. From the best-selling novel No Solar, Our Home, to And Life Goes On, the reader will find illumination for a fulfilled life on Earth as well as immortal happiness. Check the many titles available at the international distributor, EDI CEI of America. Their website is www.ediceiofamerica.com.
Spread the word. Kardec Radio, to learn more about Spiritism.
Spiritist Network, your gateway to on-demand Spiritist videos. www.spiritistnetwork.com.
Nourish your soul with Kardec Radio. Traveling to another country? Immigrating elsewhere? Prepare yourself by reading the book Among Brothers of Other Lands, in which several loving and wise spirits wrote through the hands of Chico Xavier and Waldo Vieira, telling all of us the tips and hints of a successful transition to a new land. Buy your copy today at www.ediceiofamerica.com.
Do you want Spiritist books for your children? At Edicei of America, you'll find a collection of them, from the best-selling book Our Father, in which the Spirit Mei Mei, through Chico Xavier, brought countless poems, stories, and folk tales based on the Lord's Prayer, to the beautiful and educational collection by the author Edailson Salles on Back to School and many others. Buy your copy today at www.ediceiofamerica.com.
And now we return to our program.
Dear listener, we're in the last part of our program today. It's about the healing power of the Christ for the new year. We are discussing here with hosts Marco Magalhães, Bernadette Leal, Steve Shepard, Kirsten DeMello, Daniel Santos, Marcos D. Clay, many others of you who are listening to this and participating about New Year's Eve, ways to celebrate, and also ways to begin anew the new day. We just heard the message, New Year's Letter by Emmanuel, through Chico Xavier, in which he talks about New Year's, an opportunity to learn, to work, and to serve. But before we begin anew, we need to be grateful for the year that is just ending. 2013 was an opportunity to doing so many things. And Marcos D. Clay kindly shared with us here that one of the resolutions he had in 2013, which made a terrific difference in his life, was the commitment to talk to his protector spirit or guardian angel more often. And he says it's a blessing we often take for granted and do not leverage. And he also talks about the fact that we have opportunities to be grateful. He says, another item I'm very grateful for is the friendship ties built with brothers and sisters around the world, such as Vanessa, Daniel, Kirsten, and dear friends in Florida, my brothers from Toronto, such as Marco and many others. What a blessing. Thank you so much, Marcos D. Clay, for being so kind and for being always so supportive to the Spiritist Magazine, to Kardec Radio, to the Toronto Spiritist Society, and being a good friend. It's really great to be united in this effort. So, Bernadette, what would you say regarding reasons you have for being grateful for the year that is just ending?
All right. This year, what I was most grateful for was for the challenges. It was one after the other. And it was so challenging this year. And as I look at myself after every phase, I'm so much stronger. I built this strong relationship with God in prayer. And there was this huge transformation inside me just because of those blessing moments, there was those challengings, and I am so grateful for everything that happened. And another thing that I'm grateful is for my parents, because even though they already left, they went to the spiritual realm, it was because of them. They gave me the opportunity to reincarnate and experience everything in life. Those are the two things. Of course, there's tons we can list it, but those two are really, really important for this year. And as a parent, I keep thinking about them all the time. Oh, gosh, Mom and Dad, how much you went through, so thank you. Now I know it. So that's it. I'm grateful for that, and I'm grateful for Spiritism that's helped me to go through everything. And I just have no words to say thank you. That's what I'm grateful for this year.
Yeah, thank you so much also, Bernadette, for everything you're doing here and for sharing with us this beautiful insight about being grateful for the challenges. It's not easy, but there is no other way but to embrace them as true opportunities of growth. Thank you so much. Now, Steve, you also have opportunities to be grateful for the year that is just ending. What would you share to the listener on reasons to be grateful for 2013?
Absolutely, yes. Challenges is the word indeed. It was where I became needing support and help in a job search where funds were running low. It certainly taught me to be frugal and understand to just have the things that are necessary, understand what was necessary versus what was above and needs and so forth. I think the thing I'm very grateful to is the collaboration with John DeRosa and working on the putting the audio together for the Spirits book. That's been a joy, and I look forward to continuing doing that.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Grateful for understanding how Spiritism helps and how prayer is so very important in helping get through the difficult times.
It's amazing, Steve. Thank you so much. And, you know, we would say, dear listener, you may be amazed at this moment listening to people who are hosts at Kardec Radio or spiritists working very hard to bring forth the message, and they also experience challenges because sometimes we think like, oh, well, if people already know, life is so easy. No. We're living the very normal lives that everybody else does, and we have challenges as well. The beauty is that no matter the challenges, the hosts are still keeping up their promise of reaching out to all of us. And for that, we are very thankful to you as well, Steve. Thank you very much for keeping up this beautiful work. Thank you.
Thank you. There's one more thing I do want to mention. I'm grateful also for knowing Priscilla and Marcus in Delaware. We continue our study group, and they've also been a great help and inspiration as well, helping through this year.
Oh, that's great. And it's also an opportunity for the listener. If you're in Delaware, there is a group there. Just contact us, contact Steve, and you have an opportunity to join in as well. Thank you, Steve. Now, Marco, we have so many reasons besides our babies, for sure, to be thankful for the 2013.
That's right.
What would you like to share with the listener about so many reasons you and Joyce may have of being grateful for the year that is about to end?
Well, Vanessa, to be honest with you, if you want to list everything, we're probably going to run out of time in our show today. So, I'll try to keep as simple as possible, especially because we're reaching to a lot of our audience. Probably there's a lot of people that are going through a lot of difficulties right now, and what I want now is actually to reach out to them, like, in just the way we do this, basically remembering everything we heard in the show today, and and during our life about Jesus, and what exactly Jesus is telling us all the time, that when he says my kingdom is not from this world and all that, he's just trying to give us a hand and tell us, believe in me. I am here, and believe in me. Have faith. Do never worry about things like that. Just keep marching on to be a better person and learn from your difficulties. I think that's the most important thing. Learn from every difficult experience you have, all the challenges, everything that sometimes you think that your life is done, everything's just collapsing on you, and someone's punishing you for a reason. That does not exist. Life goes on, and life is beautiful, and we're all going to grow and be a better person, and just keep faith. And I think that's the message.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Marco, for reminding us of these very important points and for being with us at Kardec Radio. You and Joyce bringing the segment Spiritism in your life. So important. Thank you, and many blessings to our Daniel as well.
Thank you, Vanessa.
So, Kirsten, reasons to be grateful for the beautiful year of 2013.
As everyone else has said, there's so many things. To be a little bit unorthodox, I would say I'm grateful for all the obstacles and the challenges and the hardships that not only perhaps here and there we may have experienced, but have shared in the hardships of others, because it's made, I think, all of us much more thankful and grateful for what we do have. And Dana's also saying Happy New Year, and he's just sending his love to everyone.
Great.
But that would be that as well, just to be grateful for those things, because it makes us really realize how much we have, and it really changes our perspective. And I'm just grateful for all of our friends at Kardec Radio, and I don't want to name names. I'd be scared I'd forget somebody and hurt someone's feelings. But everyone, just meeting new friends, meeting up with old friends, working together for a greater divine purpose is always brings joy to our hearts. And thank you, Vanessa, and everyone at Kardec Radio for this opportunity year after year. It's a blessing.
And thank you, Kirsten, for being such a good friend and for being always supportive and very helpful at the difficult times and at the tricky times as well. Thank you so much, and thank you for the beautiful segment of Spiritist Moment. We look forward to the continuation in the new year. Many blessings to you. Thank you also to Daniel for everything he has been doing for us at Kardec Radio, and many blessings to Sarah, who has been a help as well at Kardec Radio. Thank you, Kirsten.
Thank you.
So we also have here a comment by Tanya Stewart, wife of Greg Stewart. She says, thank you for all from Kardec Radio for the great and blessed work you all have been contributed for our spiritual transformation. God blessings, love, light, and wisdom to all of you. Thank you so much, Tanya, and thank you for the work that you and Greg have been doing there in Sacramento, California. Beautiful work. We also have here Greg Stewart, who is at Kardec Radio, and he says, thank you, everyone, for your wonderful message and loving service. Happy New Year. Thank you, Greg, and especially thank you for the 9-month work on recording this beautiful version of the poem of gratitude in English. We're now going to end this beautiful program on the healing power of the Christ for the new year, dear listener, with this poem of gratitude. We are going to dedicate the last program of January of 2014 to understanding of this poem. Today is just a prayer. It's just listening and allowing, like a chant, to this message to sink in, preparing us for the new year. The poem of gratitude in the voice work of Greg Stewart. Let's listen to this, wrap up the program, and end this new year in the highest tone of gratitude. Thank you.
Poem of Gratitude. Lord Jesus, thank you so much for the air that you give us, for the bread that you have given us, for the clothes that we wear, for the happiness that we possess, for everything that nourishes us. Thank you so much for the beautiful landscape, for the birds that fly in the indigo sky, for your thousands of gifts. Thank you so much, Lord, for eyes that we have, eyes that see the sky, that see the earth and the sea, that contemplate all beauty, eyes that are illuminated by love before the majestic festival of color from the generosity of nature. And those who had lost their vision, let me pray for them to your noble heart. I know that after this life, beyond death, their sight will return with an unrestrained joy. Thank you so much for my ears, for ears that were given to me by God. Thank you, Lord, because I can hear your sublime name, so I can love. Thank you for ears that register the symphony of life in work, in pain, in toil, the groan and the song of the wind through the branches of the elm, the painful tears of the entire world, and the distant voice of the singer. And those who had lost the ability to hear, let me pray for them. I know that in your kingdom, their dream will return. Thank you, Lord, for my voice, but also for the voice that loves, for the voice that sings, for the voice that helps, for the voice that rescues, for the voice that teaches, for the voice that enlightens, and for the voice that speaks of love. Thank you, Lord. I remember suffering of those who had lost the gift to speak and cannot even pronounce your name. Those who live tormented with aphasia and cannot sing in the night or day. I pray for them, knowing that later in your kingdom they will speak again. Thank you, Lord, for these hands that are mine, levers of action, of progress, of redemption. I am grateful for hands that wave goodbyes, for hands that give tenderness and relieve suffering, for hands that caress, for hands that draft the laws, and for the ones that heal the wounds, rectifying the departed flesh in order to reduce the pain of so many lives, for hands that work the soil, that support suffering and stop tears, for hands that help those who suffer, those who endure, for hands that shine with these traits are like sublime stars glistening on my arms, and for feet that lead me to walk erect, firm, and steady, feet of renunciation that follow humble and noble without complaint. And those who are amputees, the cripples, the wounded, and the deformed, those who are held back from atonement for crimes committed in another incarnation, I pray for them, and I can affirm that in your kingdom, after the struggle of this painful life, they can dance and in sublime transport with your arms also to caress. I know that everything is possible when you want to offer even that on earth that seems incredible. Thank you, Lord, for my home, a retreat of peace, or school of love, a mansion of glory, or a small room, a palace, or abandoned shanty, a shack, or a house of misery. Thank you, Lord, for the love I have and for my home. But even if I don't have a home, or friendly roof to shelter me, or nothing else to comfort me, if I don't possess anything but the roads and the stars in the sky as a restful bed and a soft sheet, and I have no one by my side, living and crying alone, aimlessly, without someone to console me, I will still say and I will sing, thank you, Lord, because I love you and I know that you love me. Because you gave me a jovial life, happy for your favored love. Thank you, Lord, because I was born. Thank you, because I believe in you, and because you rescue me with love, today and always. Thank you, Lord. Evaldo Franco and Amelia Rodriguez.
Thank you, Greg Stewart, for this beautiful version of the poem of gratitude. We're going to discuss this beautiful poem that is Life's Lesson on the very last program of January of 2014 at Kardec Radio. And, you know, in a week from today, the first Saturday program at Kardec Radio is going to be a live interview with a renowned doctor, Larry Dossey. He's going to talk about the power of creativity. We need a lot of creativity to begin the new year, and about consciousness and togetherness, telepathy, and much more. He has been a sympathizer of Spiritism. He was here at Kardec Radio before. He's back to talk to us about these very things that are interesting for us, very important in our lives. For now, we would like to thank you, dear listener, for being with us at Kardec Radio, for your messages on Facebook, for your messages by email when you called in, and also for the hosts who have been helping, for those who have edited programs, Carlos Diaz for his work, for sustaining this work, Daniel Santos for also helping so much at Kardec Radio in so many ways. We would like to thank Carla Smith for being also one of the editors of the programs at Kardec Radio. And the hosts, Marco Magalhães, Joyce Magalhães, Steve Shepard, John DeRosa, Kirsten de Mello, Ricardo Bianco, Leonardo Vieira, Bernadette Leal, and Carla Carvalho, and all of you who have been participating, guests, hosts, listeners, and let us begin anew in the new year. If you have questions, suggestions, comments, remember, Kardec Radio is always open for your questions, suggestions, and comments. Just write to us at kardecradio@gmail.com. In the meantime, let us take heart, as Jesus says, and heal our souls, transforming every single bit of it in the waters of the Christ consciousness. Happy New Year to all.
Thank you for listening to Kardec Radio, broadcasting live every Saturday morning at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Email us and share your comments at www.kardecradio.com. Until next time, we wish you many blessings.